All right, so today we're going to take a deep dive into oil and gas markets.
Sounds good.
We've got a really interesting report here
Yeah.
from Global Risk Management.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah, they really know their stuff when it comes to energy analysis.
That's right.
And this report is hot off the presses, published just yesterday.
Oh, wow.
And it's written by Arne Lohman Rasmussen.
Oh, Rasmussen, yeah.
You know him?
Yeah, he's a leading energy analyst.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He really knows this stuff. And
He's got some really interesting insights.
yeah, and he's making some pretty bold predictions.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like what?
Well, he sees Brent crude oil prices hitting USD 80 in 2025.
Wow. USD 80 in 2025. That's a big jump.
Yeah, it is.
Oh.
So we got to ask, like, what's driving that?
Yeah, what's behind that number?
Exactly.
Well, he points to two main things.
Okay.
OPEC plus strategy and
Right.
rising geopolitical tensions.
All right, so let's break those down one by one.
Sure.
Starting with OPEC plus, what are they up to?
Well, it looks like they're likely delaying their planned oil production increase.
So they're not increasing production as much as they said they would.
Right, and that's sending a pretty clear signal to the market.
Yeah, it sounds like they're prioritizing price stability over volume.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
like they're saying, look, we're going to keep oil prices where we want them,
Right.
even if it means producing a little less oil.
It's interesting because all this is happening against a backdrop of, all this global economic uncertainty.
Yeah, exactly.
So OPEC Plus is kind of playing it safe,
Right.
trying to keep those prices from going too crazy.
Yeah, you don't want things to fluctuate too much.
No, you really don't. And there's actually a recent Reuters report,
Oh, really?
yeah, that suggests that OPEC Plus might be using this delay to kind of test the market's reaction.
Oh, that's interesting. So they're kind of seeing how things play out
Yeah, they're watching very carefully.
and ready to make adjustments.
Exactly, if they need to, yeah.
It's a delicate balance.
It really is.
Supply and demand.
For sure.
You know-
Yeah. But OPEC Plus is not the only thing that's kind of pushing these oil prices up.
No, you're right.
Rasmussen also highlights the impact of all this geopolitical tension.
Yes, especially in the Middle East.
Yeah, the Middle East.
That potential for conflict between Iran and Israel.
Right.
That's adding what they call a geopolitical risk premium to the price of oil.
A risk premium. So what does that mean?
It means investors are worried
Uh-huh.
about the stability of the whole region,
Right.
and they're willing to pay more for oil just in case something happens.
Just as a hedge.
Exactly, a hedge against potential disruptions.
Yeah. And the rhetoric coming out of Iran is not exactly helping to calm those nerves.
No, not at all.
I mean, General Hossein Salami, who's a top Iranian military figure, he was recently quoted.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, saying that any attack on Iran would be met with an unimaginable response.
Yeah, that's pretty chilling.
It is. It really raises the stakes.
Yeah, and you have to remember that the Middle East is a crucial region for global oil supplies. I mean, any disruption there
Yeah.
would have ripple effects all over the world.
Yeah, for sure. And there's even some speculation that Israel might actually launch a preemptive strike
Oh, wow.
on Iranian oil and nuclear facilities.
Wow, yeah. If that happened, can you imagine what happened to the oil market?
It would be chaotic.
Yeah, prices would skyrocket for sure.
People would be scrambling to secure those supplies.
Absolutely.
All right, let's shift gears for a sec.
Sure.
Let's talk about natural gas.
Okay.
What's going on with natural gas prices?
Well, the market for natural gas, particularly in Europe, it's been kind of a roller coaster ride lately.
Yeah, it has.
TTF gas prices, the benchmark for Europe,
Right.
they're super volatile right now.
Why is that?
Well, there are a few things going on.
Okay.
On the one hand, you've got healthy European gas inventories going into the winter.
So that's good.
That's good. You would think that would put downward pressure on prices, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
But then you have all these rising geopolitical risks,
Right on the other side.
which are pushing prices up.
So it's like a tug of war.
Exactly.
You got supply and demand pulling in opposite direction.
Yeah, and then to make things even more complicated,
Oh, there's more.
you have to consider the growing demand for liquefied natural gas.
Okay, LNG.
LNG, that's right, coming from Asia.
So the TTF price, which used to be mainly a European thing,
Right.
is now becoming a global benchmark.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's really interesting how that's evolved.
Yeah, it's influenced by all this international LNG supply and demand.
It really is. The world is so interconnected these days.
It really is.
What happens in one place affects everyone else.
That's for sure. It's crazy to think that this TTF price is now kind of setting the pace for gas prices all over the world.
Yeah, it's become a key benchmark.
So what's behind this big surge in demand for LNG globally?
Well, a lot of it's coming from Asia,
Asia, okay.
especially China.
Oh, China.
Yeah, their economy's really bouncing back strong, and they need a lot of energy to fuel all that growth.
Yeah, of course.
We're talking like a more than 40% increase
Wow, 40%.
in LNG imports just in the last year.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, it is. And that kind of demand,
Yeah,
it puts upward pressure on prices.
yeah, everywhere.
Pretty much.
So it sounds like this TTF gas price is really caught in the middle of all these.
It's like a balancing act.
Yeah.
You've got European inventory levels, you've got global demand,
Right, yeah.
and then you've got those geopolitical wildcards that we were talking about earlier.
Those wild cards are always lurking,
They really are.
and they can have a huge impact, especially when you think about, like, the Middle East,
Oh, absolutely.
the Strait of Hormuz.
It's a critical choke point.
Yeah, for global energy trade.
Yeah. If anything happens there,
Right.
if tensions escalate, you could see disruptions to LNG shipments.
Right, and that could send shockwaves through the market.
Absolutely.
And just to add one more layer of uncertainty,
Oh, yeah.
we've got the expiring Russia-Ukraine gas transit agreement.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So are they going to make a deal at the last minute? Or are we headed for another energy crisis?
It's a real nail biter.
Yeah, it is, because, you know, that potential for a sudden disruption to Russian gas flows
Right.
is creating a lot of anxiety, for sure, in the market.
Yeah. And with all of these factors,
Yeah,
it's no wonder that gas prices are so volatile these days.
yeah, makes sense. So how does Rasmussen see all of this playing out in terms of gas prices?
Well, he's outlined 3 possible scenarios.
3 scenarios, okay.
He's got a low price scenario, a high price scenario,
Okay.
and then what he calls a central scenario.
A central scenario. All right, so these are all based on different assumptions.
Exactly. Different assumptions about, Russian gas flows, global demand, and of course, those unpredictable geopolitical events.
Okay, so let's walk through each of these scenarios.
Sure.
Starting with the central scenario. What does that look like?
All right. So in his central scenario, Rasmussen assumes that strong Asian LNG demand continues
Okay.
and that Russian gas flows through Ukraine come to a halt. And he also assumes that we see kind of a return to normal industrial activity.
Okay, so under those conditions, what's the prediction?
He predicts that TTF gas prices will average EUR 43
ER 43.
in the first quarter of 2025,
Okay.
and then ease a little bit to EUR 38
Okay.
in the second quarter.
A little bumpy, but,
Yeah, a little bit of a roller coaster.
but not catastrophic.
No, not in that scenario.
Okay. All right, so what about the low price scenario?
Yeah, the low price scenario.
Yeah. What has to happen for that to come true?
Well, for that to happen, you'd need to see continued Russian gas flows.
Yeah.
You'd need a weakening of global demand
Okay.
and a lower geopolitical risk premium.
So basically things would have to calm down
Pretty much. Yeah.
significantly on a number of different fronts.
Across the board, yeah.
So that's kind of a best case scenario.
You could say that.
All right, and then what about the flip side?
The high price scenario.
A high price scenario, yeah.
All right. Well, in that scenario, Rasmussen imagines
Yeah.
kind of a perfect storm.
Mm.
A colder than usual winter, driving up energy, demand a booming global economy, fueling that demand even further, and then you throw in some disruptions in the Middle East.
Yikes, that doesn't sound good.
No, not at all.
That scenario sounds a little scary.
Yeah, it's a reminder of how vulnerable we all are
Yeah.
to forces that are really outside of our control.
For sure. And these scenarios really highlight just how interconnected the global energy markets are.
They really do.
What happens in one part of the world
Yeah,
can have a ripple effect
absolutely.
that impacts prices and supplies everywhere.
It's a complex web, for sure.
Yeah, it is. It's a complex and ever-changing landscape.
It really is. No, 2 days are the same in the energy markets.
So given all this, what are some of the key things that we should be keeping in mind?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that the oil market is facing this potential price surge
Okay.
driven by OPEC plus this, cautious approach to production
Right.
and the threat of geopolitical turmoil.
Especially in the Middle East.
Yeah, exactly.
And then on the natural gas side,
Yeah.
we've got this volatile market with TTF gas prices kind of acting as this global benchmark now.
Yeah, it's the new normal.
And all these factors that we talked about, European inventory levels, surging Asian demand the potential for disruptions.
Right.
They're all contributing to this wild ride.
It's a lot to keep track of.
It really is.
But it's important.
Yeah, it's a dynamic situation
It definitely is.
that requires close attention.
Absolutely. And it raises a lot of questions about the future of global energy.
Yeah, big questions. It really does feel like we're at a crossroads.
Yeah, with energy.
Yeah, so many different factors could shape the future of energy.
It's true. Yeah, geopolitical decisions, economic trends, even Mother Nature.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a lot.
This has been a really insightful deep dive.
Glad to hear it.
I think one of the big takeaways for me is just how interconnected everything is
Oh, for sure.
in the global energy market.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, who would have thought that a gas pipeline between Russia and Ukraine would affect prices here?
Right, exactly.
Or that China's economic recovery could have such a big impact on the LNG market worldwide.
Yeah, it's amazing
It really is.
how it all ties together.
It's a complex web, for sure.
Yeah, and it really underscores the importance of staying informed
Yeah.
about these global trends.
Yeah, you can't just ignore this stuff.
No, because they're not just abstract concepts. They have
No.
real-world consequences.
Yeah, they affect all of us.
Absolutely.
So to wrap things up, let's recap the key takeaways
Sure.
for our listeners.
Right. Okay.
On the oil side, we're potentially looking at a price surge
Yeah.
driven by OPEC, plus kind of cautious approach to production
Right.
and that constant threat of geopolitical turmoil,
You can't forget about that.
especially in the Middle East.
That's right.
And then on the natural gas front,
Yeah,
we've got this volatile market.
for sure.
The TTF gas price is now like this global benchmark.
It really is.
And those factors we discussed,
Yeah.
European inventory levels surging, Asian demand, the potential for those disruptions.
Right.
They're all playing a part in this crazy ride.
Yeah, it's a lot to keep track of.
It really is a lot to digest.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think this deep dive has really helped us understand those forces at play in the global energy market.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's an important topic.
Yeah. And with so much uncertainty ahead,
Right.
what do you think the future holds for global energy?
Yeah. It's a big question.
What factors are going to influence your own energy choices in the coming year?
These are things we all need to be thinking about.
Absolutely. It's a complex and ever-changing landscape.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of oil and gas markets.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks to all of you for listening.